newest baby, just like Eko Atlantic is your baby. So we actually started capsules in 1999, I don't know if you believe it. And we've run for about 20 years. So this is what we brought out for the high-end market, and we know that obviously for developments in the Atlantic City, this is the type of place you expect to see it. But I'm looking forward to you taking me around Eko Atlantic City as it's such a beautiful place with a lot of already history, even in the short time that, relatively short time, 2005.
Yes.
Right. So I'll be looking forward to you taking me around.
Looking forward to showing you around, and big fan of the magazine.
Excellent.
It always keeps us up to date with what's really going on the market.
We try our best, we try our best.
I love the transparency.
Excellent. So, shall we go?
Let's do this.
Thank you.
So, now we're in the middle of the ocean, and on one side we have what remains to be reclaimed, and on the other side we have the Atlantic Ocean.
Okay.
And you can see that we're much lower than this part of the seawall. The goal of Eko Atlantic was how do we protect Victoria Island from the erosion and the imminent threat of complete erosion.
Right.
And that was in 2005. So we did the first part was to actually build a seashore protection.
Yeah.
And the second phase is how do we reclaim the land lost over the past 100 years.
Right.
And at the same time turn that into the future financial center for Lagos.
I like the way you simplified it, but looking at the waves then, it must have been, you must have thought once or twice, what the hell am I doing here?
I mean, you know, to do the first 100 meters when we were on Victoria Island, on Amadou Billoway, took us a long time. Sometimes our massive machines would get sucked in by the waves.
Wow.
But once we figured out the process, once we mastered it, the remaining kilometer was very quick.
Okay.
And the same thing happened when we were building the seawall in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah.
And back then the swells were very strong.
Right.
And we were studying doing it by barges, by sea, which was what was advised by international consultants. Eventually we saw that none of those solutions worked. We said, you know what, we'll do it in-house.
Yeah.
We got a few consultants to supervise the process, but then we got trucks and we started doing everything by road, and that's how we got to where we are today. So this is the way we actually did it our way, and then it worked out much better than the way it was suggested otherwise.
All right. So now that you've gotten to this phase, you're going to continue infrastructure in phases, right?
Yes.
You started the first phase, and then you then move on as you come on. How's the interest been?
It's been good since inception. When we first started, it was all water, and we had our first clients.
Yeah.
Then eventually, when we had the first,
you had people who bought water.
That's it.
Interesting.
Because they believe in our track record from Banana Island and from other developments we had in the country.
Right. Yeah.
So once we had the first stretch of land, we had more interest, and the more we developed, the more we did. And now we have residents living in Eko Atlantic. We have the first offices in Eko Atlantic.
Yeah.
We even have the first restaurant in Eko Atlantic.
Absolutely.
And that's now creating life. And we have plans for some major plans that we will be announcing throughout the year for the city. And that's going to really ignite the next level of demand for the city, in our opinion.
Of course, you said you developed Banana Island, which is true, but that is nothing compared to this in terms of land size.
So Banana Island is 1.2 million square meters, and Eko Atlantic will eventually be 10 million square meters.
So it's going to be almost 9 times.
Exactly.
And compared to VI, it's how many?
It's going to be 1.5 times Victoria Island.
And how many people are you going to expect to live in this new city?
We expect 300,000 people to live in the city.
Okay.
It could be upwards depending how dense developers decide to build. It could be a bit less, but it's around those numbers.
Are there mostly going to be people who live and work here, or do you see people coming in from VI?
We see both. We see a lot of people living and working because businesses are going to develop here. Yeah, we also, with a city of the size of Lagos, definitely we're going to have a lot of commuters, people coming in from neighboring areas to come into Eko Atlantic and work. There's
a fair bit of available land and so on. What's the process for developers to come in?
So when a developer buys the land, then we have a certain set of approval of design guidelines. Those design guidelines basically set the foundation of what sort of area you can use on the land to build on the land. They need certification from leading consultants to make sure that it's a safe building, that the structure is safe, that it's fireproof, and many other elements.
Right. Now the thing is, we've seen some very interesting designs. We actually saw one, for Eko Atlantic, where the guy had a lap pool on every floor.
Yes.
Is that a real design?
That was a real design. The project was well studied. Now it's a matter of if he wants to move forward on it, if he wants to do it, but it was an existing design.
Yeah. Right. But why should a developer think of Eko Atlantic over, say, any part of Lagos or even Abuja?
First of all, location.
Right.
It is the primest location, I would say, in this part of the continent, not even in the country.
Right.
Second thing is the level of infrastructure we have. As you can see, all the infrastructure is on the ground. We're going to be providing sewage treatment, water treatment, 24/7 electricity. Even the compaction of the land is better, which means that we don't have to pile as deep. So people don't have to worry about having a full-time generator, about the water treatment plant, about the maintenance that comes around that. So just if we look at the very basic level, this is already enough to handle any future development in Lagos.
Right, because we've even seen in any luxury apartment block, there's always that challenge of where to even fit the generator. So you see, the apartment block with the generators in front, making it look a bit unsightly. But one other thing we noticed here as well is that there seems to be a lot of underground parking.
Yes.
Is that deliberate or?
It is, because for the aesthetics of the city, it looks much better. We're not going to allow for street parking. Okay. The reason is we don't want traffic in the city, and many times street parking could be a big cause of traffic.
Yeah.
So we do expect developers to provide more than enough parking for the development, and it ends up being a very pedestrian-friendly city.
Right.
So it's not a city built around cars only; it's a city that's built around pedestrian and has a car element.
All right. So, but I've seen that most of the plots seem to be slightly depressed from the road. So that is deliberate so that you can have basement parking.
Absolutely.
Right.
So without even having to excavate, a developer can have 1 to 2 underground parking and maximize the whole use of the land.
Wow.
And that's a huge advantage.
Yeah.
And in terms of cost, it's a huge cost difference.
Yeah.
Where we want to attract the major financial institutions. This is where we want to attract major headquarters as well as hotels.
Right.
And in order to keep it a day and night city, we want there to be maybe apartments in the mix,
Right.
so that we don't have like in the day fully busy and at night completely in the dark.
Right.
So then by having apartment elements and hotel elements and even entertainment elements, it keeps the city alive even up to the night.
Yeah, you actually took that question, answered the question before I asked you, because on your website it says it's going to be like the Champs-Élysées, which has all these tourist attractions, the hotels, the nightclubs, and so on and so forth.
So if we look at our market in Nigeria, it's already huge.
Right.
And there will be the international market that comes in as well.
Yeah.
So there's the market that once the international market that's looking for expansion, this becomes a very easy entry point to the continent.
To the continent. So this Lagos can actually become a hub because this part works.
I mean, a lot of companies located in many smaller countries from the fear of Lagos maybe 10, 15 years ago, but then they're realizing if we want to work in Nigeria, we have to be present in Nigeria. There's no managing Nigeria from a distance.
Right.
We have to have a presence. And we encourage that because that triggers job creation. We have a lot of talent in the country, and that can actually be a fantastic place to actually have headquarters or to have back office operations.
In terms of infrastructure, it's very easy to say we put this in, we put that in, but I'm sure it was not that easy to do.
So it took a lot of research to figure out what kind of materials we wanted to use, what kind of equipment we wanted to use.
Yeah.
So if we look at the example of the street poles, we actually produce them ourselves. This means we don't have to import them from overseas.
Right.
And these are concrete street poles.
Concrete?
Yes. And they don't look like concrete, they look like steel or aluminum.
Right. That is amazing.
Because our roads are made out of concrete,
Right.
our sidewalks are made of concrete, our drainage pipes are made of concrete,
that's a massive boost to the economy itself. Just building Eko Atlantic.
It pushes us to consume more locally. We want to make it as much as made in Nigeria as possible.
Right.
It's a very important element. First of all, it allows us to control our quality. It allows us to control our speed, and even cost. I'm saying purely economically speaking, cost-wise, it's great, and it's also job creation.
Absolutely. So, but do you think Nigerian firms would be able to, specialize enough to build in Eko Atlantic? Because we're talking about pretty high buildings.
I mean, if we look at the buildings we've already built, we're better than many international cities already in terms of quality.
Right.
I actually think we build better in Nigeria than we build in many, many developed cities around the world.
Wow. So, but in terms of transfer of expertise and so on, Nigerian architects, builders and stuff, this should really be a good playing ground for them.
Except for the sea reclamation,
right?
Most of the work is done by Nigerian firms.
Okay.
Some consultants are, like for example, marine engineering, are specialized out of Europe, so we get to some of the very specialized one.
Yeah.
That's a very specific field, but there is a transfer of knowledge because they have to register their company here and hire engineers in Nigeria.
In terms of flora, fauna, plants, and so on, what special plants for Eko Atlantic?
So we have a nursery of a few 100,000 trees growing, not too far away.
Right.
And that's going to be used. So we have different types of trees, and it's not only for the city and for the public spaces, but it's also for developers. So we want to make that nursery available because we want to have a very green city in terms of vegetation.
Right. Environmental impact.
So here's an example. What we see in the background is an underpass.
Okay.
So why did we do an underpass? So we designed the city to be mainly roundabouts.
Right.
And there's a reason behind that. First of all, roundabouts reduce car fatalities by up to 90%, like statistically speaking, studied around the world.
Right.
They reduce certain types of emission up to 50%. They are more efficient in terms of, let's say, CO2 emissions.
Right.
So just on the design and passively, we're working on making the city already much more efficient.
Right.
So when we build the buildings as well, we're pushing our developers to build it as energy efficient.
Right.
So then already the consumption that we need is much less than a standard building.
Right.
Our street lights are powered by LED lights. That reduces by 70 or 80% the power consumption of the public spaces. So we can help pass information and our knowledge to developers. Developers also bring their know-how, and that somehow creates a certain environment.
In terms of completing the project,
yes.
I know that's a big question, but
yes.
How long do you think?
So it depends. For example, if we mean completing the project being the first residence, we're completed.
Okay.
Now, if we mean in terms of the infrastructure of which phase of the project, then certain phases have already been completed, enough for people to come and live and develop.
Okay.
If we're talking about the city being a full-blown Manhattan where we can't even build one more square meter, maybe 20, 30 years.
20, 30 years.
But it doesn't mean that we're not going to see life along the way, right? Many major cities around the world that we consider as complete are far from complete.
Absolutely.
Even Lagos is not complete.
That's true. That's true.
We still have so much empty space that we can complete. So it's always a continuous.
So there are already people living and working in Eko Atlantic.
Absolutely.
Okay. So here we are at the Great Wall. How high is this wall?
So the wall goes up to 9 meters above sea level.
It's about 3 stories high?
About 3 stories high.
Wow. And this is the only location, the only residential location in Lagos that has view.
Absolutely, this view and this promenade, which is going to be the 3rd longest in the world.
The 3rd longest in the world?
Oceanfront promenade in the world.
Wow.
Yes.
So what do you see here? You see cycling, you see...